Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. It's saying to Gareth before. This last time we spoke here was in 2010, which is I can't believe it's so long ago. But lots of things have changed since then. But have they? I suppose that's probably the thing we're talking about here today. Um, so I'm Waddy Graham's Glen man. And although I work in Carlow, I'm still living in Glen, and I'm sure in Paris you can't leave your schools. But I think since I was here in 2010, a lot of things personally has happened, but probably the highlight from a coaching perspective and a professional perspective was being part of a World Club in 2024 and winning the All-Ireland title. It's a special day. And one that, when you look back, it's an incredible amount of work from the club that has stemmed from such a long period of time. But I suppose from then, that really around that time was when we were on that journey. I really got a passion for trying to understand the game. I suppose my profession always was involved with that, being involved with different inter-county teams. You're always looking for that edge. You're always looking for trying to understand performance or whatever. But I suppose that really harnessed my real focus in on, okay, what do I actually want to try and find out? And I'm really passionate about trying to find evidence and trying to figure out why things happen. So in terms of Gaelic football practice, what is there evidence there that can help coaches, can help players understand the game a little bit better? And also to create a learning environment that allows people to understand but also make really good decisions, but also just to find out what the game is actually telling us. I think that's really, really important sometimes. So for you as coaches, you're at a stage now, maybe the club coaches at your start of the year. This kind of really a time that we haven't had before because of the new rules. From a long-term perspective, but also from a short-term perspective, when we design training, what do you focus in on? And then from a long-term perspective, what are your principles of play? What players do you have at disposal? What age group you're in? Whatever. So when we talk about performance analysis, and we're hearing a lot about it today, where can it really have impact? So there are a number of elements that you can really use it. Ultimately, you can try and understand performance. You can use it before games, in game, and post game. But what I suppose for me today, I'm going to really focus in on understanding performance and what does good look like. So we're looking back, using the information that we gathered last year with the Games Intelligence Unit, say, okay, what is actually happening? So we made a lot of progress last year. It was probably the most comprehensive analysis of a senior inter-county season ever conducted by the GAA. So that included 212 games throughout the year, so every game was analysed. So obviously to support the Football Review Committee, so that whenever they're looking at the games, they have information there that allow them to make better decisions. I think ultimately that's what they wanted. So they wanted to be agile, they wanted to react really well. One of the biggest pluses for me was the fact that we supported our referees, and I know from Ulster GAA we're pioneers with this approach, supporting referees for such a long time. But what a lot of people didn't realise that after every weekend, the referees were able to access the footage, access the frees that they gave away. They awarded, that the referees were able to sit down on a Tuesday and Wednesday and self-review that process. That was really well received by the referees as well. But also, this was all built on a really, really strong community of performance analysts as well that has been developed over the last 10 to 15 years. And I think that in itself is such an important thing and shouldn't be underestimated, the power of community, like a power of community of practice. So we were able by going to the analysts, we were able to get the footage of every game and get it back in and analyse it. And that was built on community of practice and performance analysts over a long, long period of time. That it was pioneered by Denise. I see Emma and Louise there in the crowd. They're obviously a big part of it as well. So those are the kind of big kind of wins for us as well when we're talking about. So what does the season look like? This is ultimately what the inter-county football season looks like. It spans over a period of 23 weeks really. First 8 are for National League, and then you're into your provincials, and then the Carlow Cup in All Ireland. So it was quite a task, because we were getting, for example, this weekend there's 16 National League games. We were getting them back, analysing them, getting the information done by probably by Wednesday. So you can imagine you're getting so much information back, and it can be really overwhelming. And I'm sure you're all feeling that yourselves at this stage of the season, potentially going, where do we start? And that's so. When we look back, what does a game look like? Now I'm putting these figures up here. Just remember, this is inter-county games. These are 70 minutes long, so the numbers basically relate to, say, club football, and you're talking a difference of maybe 15%. But from an average game, 70-minute game, all season, this includes National League, Carlow Cup, all divisions, they're looking per team around 42 possessions, your shots, scores around 17, total points around 22. That might sound a little bit low, but we'll give a bit of context towards that anyway. We're probably looking on average around solo and goals 4, and now that has increased as the season went on. That increased dramatically, so that's 4 or 5 per team. And then we're looking at the passes. The passes got a lot of attention last year as well. Per team, you're probably talking around 250 passes per team. So for your game, when you're designing, you're coaching your small set of games, when you're doing full set of games, you're looking at that, maybe this will help influence. But in terms of looking at, we call them calculated metrics, when you do your shot to score ratio, you're looking around 53% from open play. So this will help give you benchmarks. Again, this tells you the what. As I always say to my students, performance analysis and stats tells you the what, doesn't tell you the why and the how. This ball 73 over that. Shot to score ratio from 2-pointers probably around 41%. And average probably in the championship that's usually about 43. So from open play, that was usually, if you look over the last period of 5-10 years, that is usually where it's at, around 55. You're doing well if you're getting above 55 to 60% from open play. You're doing too bad. Productivity is just a metric just to show how well you're using your possession. So for every 10 possessions, an average team is usually getting around 5 points. And turnover is just how much you give away. But this is all season. Okay, this is taking on 20-point defeats, 20-point victories. So let's look at it a little bit more in a little bit more detail. So we're looking at just the Sam Maguire, so the All-Ireland Sam Maguire competition, not the Thompson Cup, and we compare winning teams and losing teams. You can start to get a bit more of an accurate picture. So obviously the kind of ones that are kind of highlighted in blue are the ones that are really stark. And usually from doing our research over the past 10 to 15 years, these are the things that actually are the difference between winning and losing teams. So obviously now there's a serious emphasis on kickouts. So retention rate for a winning team usually overall is about 65, and they're winning about 40% of opposition kickouts as well. We'll talk about that a little bit longer, or a wee bit down the line. Scores, you're probably talking about 21 scores, and you can see now, you used to be able to say to win a game you need 20 points. Well, given the 2-point factor, given the fact that you're getting more shots and more scores, that's probably increased. So from a total point perspective, for a winning team in Sam Maguire, it's around 26 points. But I suppose also the biggest one here is this one down here, the 2-point shots that winning teams were able to generate, have a higher success rate in terms of 2-point shots. So I think if you look back even to the club championships, look back maybe last week and last league, you can start to see you can start to connect the dots, that these are obviously very important considerations to have. And I would always bring it back to you and coach, what does this mean for my team? Can this help have more accurate expectations of your performances against teams? Does this give a bit of a better context? Because what we did was we took the whole championship, but we funneled it down and said, look, let's just look at winning and losing performances in the championship. Okay, because if you're playing the first round games last year in the National League, and the whole National League can be affected by weather conditions, can be affected obviously by the new rules and people getting used to it. So one of the real interesting things I wanted to kind of push on was the source of score, because it has become quite a popular way, an important way of analysing how the game is going. So predominantly, if you look back over the previous championships, so the dark blue is like 2022 championship to 2024. The majority of the scores were coming from kickouts, so 56%. That's slightly increased in 2025, not by a lot, but it has increased, and turnovers are slightly down. But all in all, it hasn't changed so much in terms of the makeup. It'll be really interesting to see how this goes moving forward. There's obviously another source there, throw-ins, which is around about 2 to 3% as well. But if we actually focus in on the kickouts then and say, okay, let's delve a little bit deeper, then the biggest shift, and it's probably, if you look at it, it's really understandable, is that when we look at predominantly before the pre-rules, say, when you think about it, a lot of the kickouts were going short. You were able to get 3 men around the D, you were able to pop it out, and then it was these kind of slow build-ups as well. Teams were conceding as well, potentially managing the game or cutting off threats. So, but now the emphasis on opposition kickouts has really come to bear. Because of the 40-metre arc, you're not getting those shots away. The fact that you've got the 3 up, obviously you're not going to have as many people around the whole kickouts, so you're not, the ability to retain possession is a lot more challenging. But also then the teams are pressing so well now, and I can identify that, plus the fact that you have to go over the 40-metre arc, or 20, we have to get outside there. Then the emphasis on the amount of scores come from opposition kickouts is obviously not higher. So again, what does this mean for you in terms of your coaching practice, in terms of how you feel the game should be played? Turnovers are relative, it's just similar to the previous slide. So that's a big shift, but an understandable one, because we can understand because of the constraints placed on the keepers now and teams. But also, we always predominantly had kind of 4 origins of scores. So you had your own kickouts, opposition kickouts, turnovers, and throw-ins. That was probably the main one. But I want to, from looking at it, and I think it's an important contextual element here, is that there are still slow possessions in the game. Okay? There always was. Teams are better at controlling it. It's the nature of invasion sports to a degree. So this chart here kind of showcases it. So there's no real, we kind of thought, okay, let's look at possessions, and anything over 30 seconds, let's categorize that as a slow attack or a slow possession. Because if the possession goes over 30 seconds, the fact that you won it from a short kick or your own kick out has basically disappeared. You know what I mean? Because you're kind of against a set defense. It's only a wee theory. But you can see here from the teams in the Sam Maguire, the red element of it, there's still slow attacks, and that's fine. So these are the source of shot, and you can see Kerry at the top with their own kickouts and teams there. So it's just to showcase that, look, maybe there's 5 sources of possession now, and maybe that's maybe something to look at as well from your own practices. I think there's definitely something on it now, to be fair. It's just to understand the game a little bit better, I suppose. But just an example then, that's not to say that there's been really some really good examples. So what is a fast kick out? So you can see here, this is, I really like this clip. I've seen it, this is Dingle and Bars in the Munster final. So you can see here, and one of the things that I really like here is, and what I seen last week is a lot of kickouts now. Everybody was overloading last year and kind of going for overload kickouts. I seen last week and even throughout the championship that teams are isolating boys for kickouts as well, more of a 1v1 contest. So you can see here, the boys won on 1v1, the boy breaks, but this is what I like here. This guy here, this is where I want you to focus on. His head's up, playing that first time ball, and then Paul Gainey's coming inside. Oh, apologies. So he's coming up, Paul Gainey's inside here, and his position is really good, but this is the key. Driving on, taking the man on, those 1v1 contests, and then the feint steps, taking, and from a defensive perspective and attacking perspective. So that's what I say, that possession lasted less than 30 seconds. Maybe that's something that's really you feel that could unlock and improve your performances as well. This is an example here as well from the Ulster Championship. And I think one of the things from my coaching perspective is the basic skills are still there. They're really, really important. Things that, when Terence was doing his fundamentals, and Eugene and Roger were doing their coaching workshops, still talk about. So this is kind of slow attack. Newbridge goes, they recognize the danger, they cut it off, they tackle. But I really like here is the intent, that forward movement, that forward pass, using, going direct, not going back. The fact that you can't foul them and everybody gets back. Then it's a simple pass, but there's a few wee things I love you from a coach to just recognize here. So if you look here, so he comes across, it's here. So Michael McArdle, there. Michael McArdle, the midfielder, is back here. He's just off screen, but it's the fact that see he's going forward. It's this real first phase of the ball, simple hand pass and go. But this is the other coaching point here for me, which I really, really like, is the fact that Michael McArdle's coming through. Shane Carey gets the ball onto this side, simple hand pass on the outside hand, and then Michael McArdle's coming through. And just watch it again. You'll see where does Michael McArdle collect the ball. So he will collect the ball there. So he can go from there, get shot off straight away, not quite breaking straight. So that's one of the things from your perspective I think is very important. Even though the data is there, say, look, the basic skills are there. That's something that will allow you not to give the ball away, not to give away turnovers or whatever. Okay? I thought I had to show a few videos about all this stats and data because I know how overwhelming data can be sometimes. So that's in terms of source of scores. So I think we have a good idea now of what a fast attack is, maybe potentially from a short kick out or a long kick out or from a turnover. But obviously, one of the massive areas of cheating has been the kick out. So if we look previously at the information that we've had from previous championships, or just championships, but obviously things have moved dramatically to more long kick outs based on the fact that you have to get it outside the arc. So previous years, which is stage 3, was kind of half and half. Teams were using that short kick out and building from there. Now, because of the new rules, they have to go long. And when we're saying long here, in this context, we're saying it's over the 45, because previous data, that's what they recorded it as. So The red area is over the 45, so nearly 80%, 78% of kickouts last year's championship were long. Okay, what's probably a way to look at it a little bit better. Now these mid-range kickouts from, if the pitch has a 65, from the 45 to the 65, those mid-range kickouts. So it's kind of nearly like 20, 30, 50 split. So, and as I said, you're starting to see in teams, isolate boys making, having the ability to pick those kickouts out, having really strong goalkeepers is obviously a must. That said, again, in context, if you look at short kickouts, for example, this doesn't mean that every game is going to be like this. The Dublin Tyrone game in the quarter final, I think half the kickouts were short. Is that tactical? So just because it doesn't happen, that's just the way it is. Teams can change, teams can learn, teams can adapt as well. It's just whenever you're looking at maybe kickouts, don't forget those mid-range, using the areas of the pitch to maybe break it down to see which ones are most productive when you're playing a particular team, what are the strong ones as well. So we obviously know then, because the kickouts are going on, a lot of the kickouts are contested. Those real, so that was a big shift going from previous years. Whereas because of the short kickouts and probably because of the fact that you can shift boys around, this year you're constrained, and a lot of the kickouts now, 63% of the kickouts were contested. Will this be the same this year? Time will tell. It'll be really, really interesting to see over the next few weeks, but also coming into the good ground in summer. Is this the same as well? One of the things that we're really proud of in terms of the GAU and was just looking at kickouts slightly differently. Just in terms of the area. Sometimes you can put the dots in the field and that's grand and that's okay, or you can divide it up into squares. One of the things that we really wanted to try and do is just look at them in terms of the sections of the pitch, just slightly different, and go off the length. So obviously the keeper is taking the kick out here. These wee lines are you're 20 meters away from the kick, 30 meters for. It's just dividing it up, and you can get a really good picture of how the game is going over a longer period of time for trends. And the one on the right hand side is just one game. So one of the things that people go, oh my God, how am I going to do this? You can do this. If you whenever we were in Glen, obviously I've got a laptop, so we did a lot of video work and did a lot of analysis. But during the game, all we ever used was pen and paper. I wouldn't change it. Very simple. We knew what we wanted. I knew what we wanted. You can use it as well. So all this is just the text divided into sections, and then just took from the middle to the 45, and then from here, probably just doing a 40-meter arc. But you can really sense this game, what a kick out or what a keeper has the capacity to do, or what you're trying to do. So you can write it, get a bit of paper, write the lines on it. Just a different way of looking at it. Okay. Goals and 2 pointers then are a big one. There was an element. There was a bit of commentary last year that the goals were out of the game, and it was very hard with the new rules to create goal opportunities. But actually, when we looked at it, we found that the intent of the shot. So if you look at it from the intent of the shot, were they going for goal or not, actually increased. And you can see even from the game like last week against Mayo and Galway, there were so many goal opportunities. I remember watching Down and Donegal, there were so many goal opportunities. Just players need to be able to execute. Good goalkeepers are a factor. Just 1v1 where they are able to execute. So the goals are still there in the championship. Goals slightly increased. But the chances for goals actually we felt, and that was a big consideration for the 4-point goal whenever that was being discussed as well. So goals are there. Locations of shots and open play. You can see here there's quite a lot. So National League is on the left-hand side, and provincial and Sam Maguire competitions are on the right-hand side. So we just, again, looked at it. Let's look at the elements of the pitch that we really want to attack or we want to defend. And obviously you want to protect the D. That was the thing before the championship. So we were kind of looking, okay, how do we do that? So I see Emma and Louise there. I'm going to ask you a question, if that's okay. From a defensive perspective, how do you use this information? Anyway, from an analyst, you probably, from a defensive perspective, you want to probably protect somewhere. Where would you try to protect? There, here. From an attacking perspective, where do you want to shoot from? There. And here. So round here, round here. So that can really influence, thank you. That can really influence you as a coach. Now, there's context here, context here. The size of the pitch, the conditions, all these elements here. But we know that in terms of the championship, this was it. So I want to just show you a clip here from Donegal and Meath. This is an example. They just won the kick out, and you can see here that Meath have got back, and Meath have got back in numbers, so they've got everybody back. So I'm going to show the clip first. So that's the clip. So let's look at it again. But this time we're going to focus in on a few areas, right? So obviously it's the same attack. And now you can see that Meath have got everybody back. So we can see here now that they have got everybody back. So here. So Michael Murphy actually here has won the kick out down here. He won the kick out, and then Meath got everybody back. So we're going to highlight here now all the players that Meath have got back. So you as an audience are focusing in on that. Okay, how do we break this down? So then, obviously, width and depth, as everybody knows. So Donegal, but look at this guy here, Hubert Fadge is going to take this man out. He's going to go into full forward lane, which you'll see a lot of. But by a consequence, leaves this gap. And then this boy's going to go right around. And then Donegal are actually going to recognise that there's an opportunity here. And he goes into that gap. These three players here are actually really important. Michael Murphy's here. You're not going to leave Michael Murphy, so he's engaging this player. Watching down, actually, if you look at it again, actually takes a step back and opens that up. And then look, this drive here, this 1v or 2v1 contest actually allows Randy to identify, okay, there's something happening here. And then let's play away from it. See Austin Gallo moving back, just opens that gate, and then Randy Q. So when we're looking at slow attacks and things like that, that's really, really an important consideration. So we're in the home stretch. Obviously, the big thing here is 2-pointers. We're talking about them. We know that around 70% of 2-pointers are from open play. So that's an important consideration for you as well. This is just another final clip here. It's just one an opposition kick out here. And it's just just think about when you're looking at the games this weekend and you're looking at elements, where do you get these 2-pointers from? So I really want you to kind of focus on this player here. So Donegal are obsessed with everybody's going deep. So they use the kick pass to get wide, and then he's coming back in. Look at this player here. He gets it. And it's so you'll see a lot of that. So it's just when I'm highlighting those clips, just for you to kind of get your thoughts going as well. One of the interesting things I really find is, okay, when we talk about 2-pointers, one of the questions I had in my head throughout the year was, when is there a difference that the chasing team, are they taking far more 2-pointers than the team that's leading? And I suppose looking at the information, it is yes. So the middle So I broke it down into, at that moment in time when the shot was taken, was the team winning or losing or drawing at that moment in time. So the data, it's not perfect data, it needs to be cleaned up a wee bit, but teams in a losing position takes far more 2-point shots than winning teams. And that, from your coaching perspective, why is that? They're chasing, they're forcing it possibly. But also, even though they're taking so much more, 29% is the conversion rate. Okay? So they're taking so much more, but they're not converting them. But actually, teams in a winning position actually take slightly less, but their conversion is a lot more. So ask yourself the question, why is that happening? Is it because teams are dropping off? Is it teams are just way ahead? Things like that. Those are the contextual questions you need to ask yourself from a coaching perspective, and then look forward as well. What we interestingly found, I don't have a slide for it here, but actually in the fourth quarter, third and fourth quarter, that's when the majority of take shots as well. So losing teams into the fourth quarter, taking far more 2-point shots, and it's understandable as well. Winning teams actually have build up a lead and get them in the first half. So on that then, just to conclude, there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of a lot of stuff to consume. One of the things I would say is that I'm really excited about this season. So, like even last week, we talked about solo and goals. If you look at Galway and Mayo last week, in the first half there was 12. There was 12 solo and goals in the first half between the two teams. So, is that a trend that's going to continue? People talk about the passing, the hand pass, the kick pass ratio, and I think if you looked at overall last year, I figure it was something like 4.7, which is quite high in comparison to the previous year. If you look at that Mayo Galway game from the first half yesterday, I think Galway was like 2.8, Mayo was 3.3. So teams are kicking it more. You can see that. So it'll be really interesting just to settle and see, okay, from a coaching perspective, what will come as well. The last contextual thing I have to really state here as well, when you're looking at this type of information, for you as coaches as well, when you're looking at opposition, is what's the conditions? As in, we haven't even touched on, I haven't even took out when the red cards, the black cards, things like that. Those are really, really important. So just when you're looking at your own performances for this year, and looking at opposition, were they playing a game with that second half with the man down? What happened? Because that could really affect how you understand the information. So to conclude, I thought I put a dairy picture in here saying I'm surrounded by throwing people. I fear for my safety. But look, we're very proud of the work we did with GAU last year. It was a hell of an undertaking, and we had a great team with Denise involved as well, doing the stuff. These reports are on the GA website. There's so much information there, but also it's actually really interesting. What we looked at is the National League and the differences in divisions, so Division 1, Division 4, and that would be something there that you need to look at as well. Just for look at the differences in the the differences in the kickouts, shooting ratios, the 2-pointers. I'll finish in this. The differences between the Division 1 teams in terms of passing the goalkeeper was mad in comparison to Division 4, because Division 1 had Niall Morgan, Louis Vega, and Ethan Rafferty, etc. Or Division 4 maybe didn't have that caliber or type of. So that's why looking across divisions is important. Right. Thank you so much.